and every question that you can think of. You know what? Let's try and stump Steve today. This is Stump Steve Day. So go ahead, put any question you can.
Hey, Dave, you look, you got a raccoon on your face.
Oh, no. That's just a little bit of wisdom right here, and
Is it?
something that I'm trying out. I'm almost 40 years old, and we'll see we'll see how this goes. So my facial hair has never been this long, and I can't help but itch it every 2 or 3 minutes. This is about the only place that it really comes in. I got no hair on my arms, got no hair on my legs, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I got some wisdom right here, Steve.
That's
Right?
good. I got a bunch of it right
Yeah,
here.
you got some wisdom there. I've got some wisdom growing in on the sides.
Hey,
Speaking of wisdom, that is what you need when it comes to getting out on the ground, in the saddle, behind the lines, and packing. That's what you need to make sure that, number one, you enjoy yourself. But number two, and this really actually should be number one, that you don't get hurt, because here's the deal. There is no safety when it comes to working with livestock. There is no safety in equine. There is only being prepared for the next thing. And so that's what we do every single week, is we talk to you about how you can be prepared for whatever that next thing might be. You're riding along the sides of the Grand Canyon. Folks say, it gets out of control. We'll, put them into a turn. Well, you can't turn on the side of the Grand Canyon. I mean, you can. That's going to be the last turn of your life. It's a deadly
yeah.
turn. So we don't want that. We're going to help you prepare for when that moment comes that you lose control on the side of the Grand Canyon or just flat out on the trail. There's 3 things that we ask you to do. And so if this is the first time you're ever hanging out with us, we sure do appreciate you spending this time with us. And we want to invite you to do those 3 things. First and foremost, we just want to know that you're here watching. So in the comment section, whether you're watching on Facebook or whether you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like. That's it. It's very, very simple. There's just, in this world of computer and tech, you can curse it all you want and say, oh, I wish it were about the good old days. Well, here's the deal. Things have changed. And as much as it drives some people apart, it has brought this mule community together. And the thing that we can do to make sure that we don't lose the good old days is to know your name, to say your name, to recognize you, to say howdy, and to just keep that good, conversation going back and forth. So help us bring back the good old days. Put your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. The second thing is that you ask any and every mule or donkey question that you've got. There's no stupid questions. Only stupid question is the one that doesn't get asked, because it winds up meaning that we're not going to get results in that area. So please ask all of your questions. I've got 6 questions that have come in from the last week. I've got those queued up and ready to go, and we'll get to your questions too. And then the third thing, these events are free. No intent to change that at all. We love doing these shows, but it is very, very nice to get compensated with attention. So we would love for you to tag a friend or a family member, someone who is into equine, maybe even considering a mule or a donkey. Just tag them in Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to suggest the channel to somebody that you know. Send them a text message with a link. Send them an email with the link. Just let them know that, hey, I'd love for you to check out this show with me every Wednesday. And with that, Steve, how are things going? You are not in the normal place this week. You are somewhere else in the world. Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm at my second home, I think it is, Andrada Ranch. Yes, sirree.
The
Yeah,
Andrada Ranch, just south of Tucson. What
yeah.
the weather's got to be pretty good down here. It's really nice up here today. It is beautiful spring break weather.
We have had rain, we have had sleet, and we have had rain and sleet. Yeah, it's more.
If you
We're shipping cows. There's no feed on this ranch, so they're taking all the cows off of the ranch. Now that's Randy Figgins, and this right here is Laura. Those 2 mules, this mule right here, Randy has owned since he was a 2-year-old. This mule here has that Randy is sitting on, as the ranch has had it since it was a 5-year-old, no, a 3-year-old, and all ranch raised mules, working mules. I mean, they know what to do. and they're in their 20s. So I've had some folks contact me all the time looking for mules, and you know, I want to stay away from it. I won't tell you where to go to get mules. I won't tell you who to talk to, nothing like that. Mainly because of this. I don't know the mules, and I don't know you, the rider. So here's what this come up. This is rare. Randy said, I'd like to have these mules have a nice retirement home. So some folks from Denver who were at our clinic, Steve and Carol, Carol wanted me to look at a mule. So I was looking at pictures of this mule in this other state, and I've seen this mule going around, seeing doing different things. And I said, you know, I'm not real happy with that mule with a lot of different problems. And the mule was about 14 years old. But at 14 years old, it should have known a whole lot more than what it did. And so I was talking to Randy about it, and I told him about here they wanted to sell this mule, and the lady was going to have to take it to the trainer. Matter of fact, she was talking about bringing it down here to Randy to train. And Randy says, well, heck, tell you what, you know, we're talking about selling a couple of our ranch mules. And I said, no, yeah, really. So I said, I called up Carol and Steve, and I says, here is a chance in a lifetime to buy solid mules. They're still equines. They can still make mistakes. I said, but these mules have already been there, done that, been on pack trips, worked cattle. And you can see in these pictures, you know, these mules doing this. So these mules aren't slouches, and they're rare to come by. So Randy says, find them a good home, Steve. And I said, I think I know who they are. So I called these two folks up, and I said, Carol, I got this one mule, but I've also got a second one your husband was talking about buying. And Randy has owned this mule since it was a 2-year-old and been on elk hunts, worked cattle, everything. So folks, don't ever ask me if I know where to buy mules. This is rare. And I did this because I know the mules, I know Randy, I know the owner of the ranch, and the only thing I don't know is Deb and Steve. So I'm going to watch them ride, I'm going to watch them interact, and if I see there's going to be a problem, no deal. You know, these mules are going to have to go to someone that will take care of them and enjoy them. So anyway, there we are. That's kind of a new thing in my life right there.
Awesome. Folks, I just put a link in the comment section to this article. This is an article Steve wrote. It's called Mules for Sale, How to Buy a Mule or a Donkey on Craigslist or at auction. Talks about what you need to look for, disposition, conformation, training, vet care, what you want to ask the seller, questions you want to ask, what the seller's going to tell you, and what you need to be aware of. It's going to talk about buying from auction, buying from a trader. I just put in the link access to this particular article, and it's absolutely free. That's one of the F-bombs we like to drop around here. We drop lots of F-bombs, and this is the first one. Free article, How to Buy Your Mule Off of Craigslist or at auction. Steve, why do you say we go ahead and say greet some folks who are hanging out with us today? You want to do that?
Fun. Let's get her done.
Let's get her done. Eileen is watching from Nebraska, 52 degrees. Good to have you, Eileen. Captain's here. Richard Matthews. Good afternoon, Chaplain Steve and Dave. Good afternoon to you, Captain. Oh, excuse me. Oh, my good. You know, with this coronavirus, you cough or sneeze, people used to say, oh, God bless you. Now they look at you like, you got the Rona? I had the Rona, but I'm better now. Kathy is watching. You two, hello. Watching from cloudy, drizzling Elephant Butte, New Mexico. Jackie is watching from Placitas, New Mexico. Had snow and ice storms last night. It's currently 39 degrees here, and the sun is just beginning to peek out. Maggie is watching from North Carolina. Sunny and 70 degrees. Trace is watching. Good day from Queensland. Beautiful day here. A lot of Eastern Australia is underwater. Lucky to be high and dry. Stay high and dry there, Trace. Myra is watching from Southern California. Ethel is watching from Nashville. Indiana, 70 degrees. Randy, hey, Andrada crew is watching. You got them over there in the other room. They're like, hey, we see Steve here and we see him over there. This is a hoot. Polly is watching from Barnesville, New Mexico, 47 degrees. Ross is watching. Ross, we got your questions today. We'll get to those. It'll be great. Herman's watching. We've got Melissa Ann watching. Love watching you from rainy New York. I sent you a message about my mule. I'm not sure if it's sent. Melissa, I am not sure, but we'll see. You can go ahead and put it in here as well. That way we'll definitely get to it. Hey, Amy, Jason, Amy's watching, says Jason and Nat went for their first trail ride this packed weekend. So there you go, Grandpa, making it happen. Sherman is watching. Johnson's Taxidermy. Norman, Oklahoma, 60 degrees and cloudy. Tonda is watching, and she gives us our first question today. Tonda says, I would like to know if the come-along rope works the same on a horse as it does the mule.
Well, it works the same, but the reaction is different. Horses tend to flight really quick. Mules and donkeys tend to brace into it. So one of the downsides with the horses is I've had them rear up a few times. So you got to be careful about that more than a few times. But anyway, but the mules, they'll brace into it. You still want to use the thought of asking, telling, demanding. You want to do that. And always look for small tries. But yes, the old guy that I learned from, Nick West, that I used that come-along hitch for, he didn't mess with mules too much, but I can tell you that Nick did a lot of horses, and he's the one I learned from, and I just perfected it from there. I would actually go to Alberta, Canada, and learn how to braid rawhide, work with Hackamores, and start colts, and that's what we did. There we are doing the come along hitch.
Yeah,
I see me. Who's that guy with that good looking helmet?
That's a lot younger. Lot younger.
What do you mean, a lot younger? Yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, if you don't know what the come along rope is, boy, are you in for a treat. We have struck gold when it comes to how to get results in your training, and it actually is really nothing new. It's just continuing to say the same thing over and over and over, and that is ground foundation training. If you can't control them on the ground, if you can't move them around, get them to do what you want to do on the ground, there's no way you should be in the saddle because you're not going to be able to get them to do what you want there. Steve actually has really been talking a lot about this the last 3 years. We talk about the come along rope almost every episode. Actually, I would just say we do it every episode, and we put together a kit called the Ground Foundation Starting Kit. It is the only product that we will tell you need to buy. We're not here to just sell. Matter of fact, most of the stuff we give you here is free. There's another F-bomb. We give you free stuff. But if there is one thing that we want you to buy, it is the Ground Foundation Starting Kit, because it comes with that come-along rope. It comes with a rope halter, adjustable rope halter, and it comes with a training video to show you how to use it. And the come-along rope works wonders. So I just put that out there. I put a link in the comment section for you to go to check that out. That's the only thing we're ever going to tell you to buy. You have to have it. Steve's even discounted it on the store. We don't do discounts, but Steve's gone ahead and done that, so it's basically free shipping, right? You still pay for the shipping, but it's a discount. Covers the cost of shipping. Get it delivered. It's going to be a fantastic tool that you'll be grateful to have. You're never going to hang it on the wall because you're going to use it almost every time you go out there. It's great. Lynette is watching, says, thank you for answering all our questions. I'm sending you greetings from Silver City, New Mexico. Blowing snow and cold today. Micah is watching. He says, I have a mule I'm just starting in the saddle. If she gets nervous, she wants to run. Do you have any suggestions? That sounds like a lot of people I know. If they get nervous, they want to run. It's pretty natural for all of creation, getting nervous, want to run. Steve, we're not here to dish out relationship advice, but we can dish out some mule advice. If you've got a girl mule, or maybe just a mule in general, that wants to run when they're nervous, what would you do?
Makes no difference. It's girl or boy or whatever, horse or mule or donkey, flight and fright kicks in. Okay. So they're frightened about this. So it could very well be that your ground foundation isn't squared away. That's where I suggest you use the come along hitch. It's easy for an equine to go. Donkey, mules, horses, period. But mules, I'm talking about just mules now. You know, it's really, really easy for them to go. Flight because of fright. So they're frightened, they're going to go. So if that mule is wanting to go when you're wanting to get in the saddle, you got to go back and work on your foundation. You got to teach that mule to stand still. So what I would do is get your come along hitch on there, do your work, do your foundational training, 3, 6, 9, 12 steps. Watch the video there. Watch that video. You know, that I don't just sell you a rope and say, here you go. I got a video that says, here are the steps. Go by these steps. You control the feet, you control the mind. So obviously you don't have control of the feet. So why are you getting in the saddle? Because you don't have control of the mind. So I would after I've done my 3, 6, 9, 12 steps on this mule, and now it's time to go up the ladder. I would, speaking of the ladder, I would get me a step that I could step up on and teach that mule that when I step up and get higher than them, their feet are not to move. That's important. That's very, very important. So if your foundation is correct, you'll do good. So go from there. Now, a couple things I need to know. Are you riding in a breeching? Are you riding in a snaffle bit? Those things are very, very important. A lot of people thinks because, hey, it's flat ground, I don't have to ride with a breeching. Well, I can show you in a matter of minutes that saddles go forward on mules, especially if you're using wool pads. It's really bad. But you ride with the breeching all the time. So help me out with those questions as well.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Thanks so much for the question there, Micah. And if you've got some follow-up answers, we'll get to those. Bill is watching, sharing to Mules of Ohio, 70 degrees, sunny with some wind today. Enjoy the sunshine. I love the breeze when it's sunny. It's nice out. Beth is watching, says, hi from Central North Carolina. Your left, right. Saved my hiney this week. So what she's talking about is when you're in the saddle and this mule wants to do what it wants to do and not listen to you, you want to communicate to both sides of the brain. And you just start pulling. They're bigger than you and they'll start running through their shoulders. So what you want to do is you want to do left, right real fast, and you'll communicate to both sides of the brain, and you will be amazed. You will be amazed. So next time you're in the saddle and they start to get out of control, left, right, real quick, and you'll see them shape up. It's pretty cool. Hey, Kiki's watching from chilly Southern Oregon. We're considering growing a rye on a small scale and wondered if that'd be a good thing to supplement mules and donkeys since pasture isn't a good thing. Steve, we talk about feed a lot. Is rye a good thing to supplement for mules and donkeys?
You know, I know very, very little about ryegrass. Here's the thing, folks. Anytime you're going to feed hay, take a sample of the hay into your local college that does agricultural stuff and let them test it. And there's probably other programs around that will test your hay. We used to go in and we used to take some hay, we'd take a pipe and we'd cut it with a sharp end on it and put a handle on it. And then we'd shove it into a bale of hay, turn it, and then pull it out, and then that would give us a core sample of the hay. Now, here's the important thing about it. It'll tell you your vitamins, your minerals. It'll tell you how much rat manure is in there, how many snake parts are in there as well, the salmonella count. It'll help you out. But what will also help you out is this. It'll tell you about the sugar content. Folks, I'm never really concerned about the protein aspects. I mean, it's very important, and I don't like to go over 12, but when it comes to mules and donkeys, it is imperative that we have the least amount of carbohydrates, the better. So test your hay. I can tell you that first cutting, spring cutting on any grass is going to be way too much for mules and donkeys.
Thank you so much, Kiki. Good to see you. We've got Jackie watching. Says, I do have a question regarding cleaning my mule's feet. Annie keeps pulling her feet, both front and back, out of my hand when I'm trying to clean her feet. Is there a correction I could be doing to get her to stand still and give me her feet willingly? Steve?
Come along, Hitch. Come along, Hitch. Come along, Hitch. Dave's probably pulling up a video right now of a mule that didn't want me to keep that back foot. And we have a lot of other videos as well, especially after this last clinic. But that come along hitch, folks, I'm telling you, you cannot overdo it with this come along hitch. You got a vet problem, come along hitch. You got a shoeing problem, come along hitch. Now this mule right here was a very nice mule, very nice mule. And anyway, this mule was having a kind of a hard time, and I put the come along hitch on him and got him to thinking. And that's the whole thing, folks. Watch this. See that? Things like that. Now notice I got the come along hitch ready. So if that mule says, I don't want to pick up that foot, I'm going to bump his nose. So you see what I did? I just reached down, tap, 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 pick that foot up. Okay? Now watch this. Notice I'm bringing the foot forward first. Notice the come along hitch is there ready to go. Now I'm going to go straight back and over to the left. Now before, they couldn't hardly pick up that foot. One of the reasons they came to my clinic. They couldn't hardly do anything with it. Notice I put the foot down. But what equalized me? What equalized me was that come along hitch. That mule, with my foundation training, I taught that mule. Now here it is without the come along.
We recorded this whole thing unbroken. It's 12 minutes or so. And there you go. Right there. I'm going to put a link so y'all can watch the whole thing. It's a great video, and it just shows that anything is really possible if you've got the right tools and you've got the right amount of patience and you know the steps to go. So, yeah, absolutely, Steve.
Yeah. Well, and that's an awful nice mule, folks. Them people spent a lot of money for that mule. If I told you what they spent for that mule, you'd say, dang, I could have bought me a new truck for that almost. But here's the thing. Just because the mule is supposed to be, quote, well-trained, what happens is they can be well-trained, but then we've been miscommunicating with the mule. And I can tell you that time and time again, especially a mule like that right there, well-trained, worth a lot of money, but with my come along hitch, and because that mule's got a nice mind, I was able to fix it in less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Jackie. Make sure you watch that whole video. I think you'll really get some key insights there and have a greater level of confidence when you go out there. Patience, patience, patience. Rome wasn't built in a day, and a mule wasn't foundation trained in a day either. 6-month time frame, and you'll always keep coming back and doing tune-ups. Brad is watching from Nanton, Alabama. Nanton Air Force Base? AB. What state is AB? Is that Alabama? No.
That's Air Force Base.
Air Force Base? Okay, Nanton Air Force Base, 45 degrees. Good to have you, Brad. We've got Jerry watching. Says, hi, Steve and Dave. Jerry from Indiana. Nice weather here. A little windy. What's the facial hair, Dave? This is me. I'm having a midlife crisis. Let's see. It's spring and you... He goes, what's with the facial hair? It's spring and you should be shedding, not growing, shedding. Always a great Wednesday listening to you guys. Enjoyed the Thursday Bit Talk. Great information. And what Jerry's talking about is last week on Thursday evening, we did a talk all about bits. That's why you need to be signed up for Steve's newsletter. If you're not, just go to muleranch.com, get signed up. There's plenty of opportunities to do so there. We send out invites to all sorts of awesome events and information that mule folks want to know. Lamar is watching. Hey, Steve and Dave. Lamar here, 53 degrees in Price, Utah. Margie is here from Alabama, says, do mules get jealous? Steve, do mules get jealous?
Mules have a pecking order. It's not a matter of jealousy, folks. It's a pecking order. I want to be the top of the pecking order. So will they go over and push another mule out of the way? Yeah. Will they spin and kick them even? Yes, they will. Especially if they think you're going to give them treats. No treats. Never any treats, you know. And then you get some mules that love to be petted. Well, I understand that. But it's not a matter of jealousy. It means that I am the top of the pecking order. Now, when they recognize you as the top of the pecking order, then they'll take and come over, and since they're the second one of the pecking order, they'll move the others out of the way so that they can get the petting and this sort of thing. Will they share it? No, because that's a hierarchy. That's the way mules and horses are. You've got the herd leader, which is you, and then you got the next mules, until you get the bottom of the pecking order.
So important to understand how it works. You get a lot of folks who will make comments based upon feelings, based upon the way they interact with dogs or with, you know, these domesticated house pets and things like that. And you know that's fine. But these are not dogs. These are not cats. These are not birds or indoor house pets. These are equine. And understanding the equine communication and the equine culture, it's imperative, and you can't go off of feeling. You have to go off of reality and facts. So very good question there, Margie. Appreciate it. Taylor is watching. Taylor and Henry are watching from Salt Lake. Sunny, and all the snow is melted in the Salt Lake Valley. Jack is watching from Johannesburg. Is 55 to 60 today. Thunder and lightning, sun, wind, and an inch of rain. Lucky that there's no snow today. My wife and I trailered and rode both days this last weekend. Jack is living the dream up there. Albert is watching over on the YouTube. Steve, Levi here from New Brunswick, Canada, International. I know you're all about mules on here. Just wondering if your come-along rope would work with an unruly horses. We have an 8-year-old paint that is always in your space. You know what, Levi, great question. We actually started the broadcast with that question. And if I remember correctly, Steve, tell me if I was listening close enough. Yes, it will work, but their response is going to be different. Is that pretty much it in summarized?
Yep, absolutely.
So Levi, go back, rewatch the very beginning, about 4 minutes in. We talk exactly all about that. Yes, it's going to work. You have to anticipate that the response and reaction from the animal is going to be different. Danny is watching from Brush Creek, Tennessee. We've got Melissa, and she went ahead and put her comment, her question in here. I may have had it queued up. I haven't looked at it, Melissa, but I'm glad you put it here. I've been wanting to ask you, I have a mule that is about 3 years old. He was left to his own for about 2 years prior to me taking ownership. He's very shy of halters and ropes and will only let me work with his feet if there is a problem. Ultimately, it would be a good joy of mine to ride him. Obviously, I need to be able to get a halter on him first. He is in a large pasture that I unfortunately do not own, so I am not permitted by the owner to put up any sort of additional fencing to further confine him to a smaller area. I was wondering if you had any tips or suggestions how I can get him used to wearing the halter and at least comfortable to walk with me while wearing it. I hesitate in learning the halter on him is the pasture is very densely wooded. If he were to get bound, I don't know if I would be able to see if he needed help. Thank you very much for reading and greatly appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Any comments, Steve?
Yeah, number one, folks, never leave your halters on your animals. Never. That is the worst thing. You want to get your animal killed, that's the best way to do it. I can tell you some horror stories of horses and mules scratching on T-post, getting the halter hung up, and then driving the T-post right through the jaw. Going down to get a bite of grass and went to scratch and got their foot caught in the halter, and they beat themselves to death, and it gets on worse. So let's go on. You cannot train a mule when he is loose in a big pasture. When you're doing your training, you always keep them in a small pen, 10 by 20, 6 months. Now, is it okay to turn them out later on? Yes, once they have a foundation and they learn how to go out and graze and then come back. And then they need to be in a catch pen. A big catch pen is very, very important. But when you're building a foundation, folks, the first 6 months, they are completely, totally under your care, okay? Now, there's a black mule we got here that we're training for Bill up in Wyoming, and that mule was hard to catch. This morning, he walked right over to me, it was, hey, buddy, good morning. We put the sur single on him, and away he went. He did really good. So until you get that mule in a small pen, there's nothing you can do, nothing. You got to have it in at least a 20 by 20 pen. And you don't want to train in that pen. That's their home. There they can do as they please, okay? So I prefer to have a separate working pen for the foundational training, the sur single work, the round pen work, the come along work, and then a separate place for that. And then their home, their little corral there. But until you put them in a small pen, you're not getting anywhere.
Very good. Thank you so much for asking that, Melissa. Appreciate it. Floyd says, watching from Canton, Texas, 75 degrees. God bless. Thank you, Floyd. Same back at you. Charlene is watching, says, I need to try one of those ropes for this new 13 hands high jack I've got. Yes, Charlene, try one of those ropes and make sure that you get the ground foundation starting kit. A lot of times what will happen is folks will buy just the rope or just the rope halter and come back and say, gee, I wish I could get a discount on the other one. Can I go ahead and get that discount? Nope. You've got to buy the ground foundation starting kit all together. So don't just get one, because we're going to tell you everybody comes back and wants the rest of it. Get all of it at one time. There's nothing else that we tell you you've got to get. This is the only thing. It's under $100 and it will transform your training sessions. If you want to get results in your training, you want the ground foundation starting kit, Charlene, and everybody else watching. Dolores says that she loves the come along rope, and Dolores, you're not the only one. Michelle is watching from rainy Lanneray, Quebec, Canada, International. Tanya and Jim are watching from Old Town, Florida. Naomi is watching. Naomi and Butch in Eastern Washington. We've got Rhonda in Tallahassee, Florida watching. David is watching from Western Washington. Dennis is here from Louisiana, 77 degrees. Just came back from a short ride in Kisatachi National Forest. Hopefully I said that okay. Micah says, thank you, sir. Yes, I do use the come along rope. I love it. And I do use a Britchen. She is amazing on the ground. And so Micah had the question earlier on, Steve, was saying, just starting in saddle, she gets nervous. Do you have any suggestions? So yes, the Britchen, yes, the come along rope. Any follow-up?
Yeah, follow-up would be then, okay, matter of fact, on my videos, a colt starting foundation, you can see where a person is standing there that has the capabilities of using the come along rope while this first time rider climbs in the saddle. And you can see the foundational training that I do there, which is really, really important. When I done this colt starting video, it was 5 people. They never rode a colt before. First time they'd ever trained a colt before, and in 3 days they were riding that colt. So it's a wonderful thing.
Yep, very good. Thank you so much, Micah. Appreciate the follow-up. I put a link in the comment section to where you can go ahead and get yourself a copy of the Foundation Colt Start, and you can get it digital, so you can just start watching today. It's fantastic. We actually overhauled the entire video library of MuleRanch.com. And thank you to our friends who have purchased in the past and let us know that we had a couple tweaks, and we've been working it out, and it's a fantastic video library. You just log in and you have everything right there, at your fingertips, ready to watch at any point in time you need it. Folks love it, and it's a huge resource. We're glad to be able to offer it. Moving right along, we've got Jim watching from Alabama. Tonda follows up, says, well, I bit the bullet. I just purchased my come-along kit and 2 DVDs. Now, if this baby would come on out, we can get started. Mama's holding it for ransom. It's been a several weeks now, Tonda. We're pulling for you. Let us know when baby Mule arrives. That's going to be great. RV is watching from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Hey, Trinity's here. Windy and 48 in northern Wyoming. Jordan and I are looking forward to working with the Mule this weekend. Thanks to you guys. Thank you, Trinity. It was great to meet you several weeks ago, both you and Jordan, and was glad to be able to spend some time with you. Hey, Linda's watching. Oops, I'm late. Had the whole back of the roof replaced today at the home of Linda the Mule Servant and Theo the sweet one-eyed mule, who helped supervise the roofers. I'll bet he did. Lovely spring day in central rural Ohio. Janelle is watching. Jane from New Brunswick, Canada. International, my boyfriend and I used your come-along rope on my mare, and she transformed into a completely different horse. Thank you. There you go. Y'all was asking if the come-along rope would work on a horse. Proof's in the pudding. Jane's telling you. CT is watching from Washington. Melissa says, thanks so much. I questioned about the halter because a vet had told me to leave it on him, and that didn't sound right. Hey, you did the right thing in asking. Even if Steve had come back and said, yep, do it. Well, now you know. He came back and says, no, don't do that. Now you know. So ask those questions, y'all. Don't stop asking the questions. Don't stop learning ever. Take a page from Steve's book. He's still learning, still making adjustments. Lydia is watching from northeastern Ontario, Canada. A lot of our friends up past the northern border. Love having y'all watch today. Bonnie is watching, better late than never. We've got Brad watching, says, I like watching this, and I learn a lot on this live video. I am from Nanton, Alberta. That come-along rope is working wonderful for my 2 mules. Beth says, I think my evening will consist of Netflix and ordering a bunch of your videos. You're having to call me so much, my husband is starting to question our relationship. That's pretty funny. We're all in the clear, just helping out with the mules, helping you grow that relationship with the mule. Right, Steve?
Right. That's right.
That's right.
Golly, that's right.
Next question we've got. This one's all about desensitizing. Steve, let's talk about some desensitizing. Ruth sent us a message and asked the question, I've been utilizing some videos on starting a donkey. I've been successful at getting her to cross wood, tarps, and walk over railroad ties, but when it comes to crossing water, it is a challenge. I know they have a fear of it. I've tried from a small damp spot, which fine, to a small puddle, but anything over that is difficult. Steve, can we get this mule desensitized?
There's no such thing. Don't even use that word, folks. How many of you have a rattlesnake to desensitize to? How many of y'all have deer to desensitize to? Well, I can even tell you that a rancher buddy of mine up in Globe, Rip is his name. He's quite the ham. And now get this mule been around cows for a long time. And one day, Rip is going down a hill, and all of a sudden, 4 cows come up behind Rip. Scared that mule, and he took off. Now, wait a minute. How many cows do you think Rip's seen every day? How many cows do you think that mule's seen every day? Yeah. And besides that, that mule literally lives with those cows. What happened? Flight because of fright, y'all. Flight because of fright. If you got to have control on these animals, a bit, come along hitch, and this sort of thing, without a proper bit and then the knowledge of it, Rip now has that information. He came to my clinic before he got off his mule and tied his mule up and just said, okay, throw your fit. Those are cows. You've seen them before. I don't know what your deal is. And he just got all sweaty and worried. Wait a minute. He's seen cows. He's got cows to desensitize to. You can't do it. What do you have to do? Well, what I did was I showed Rip how to use the Mule Rider's Martingale. We had a rider earlier talking about right, left, right, left. Yes, that's what I did. I put Rip in the round pin, and I jumped out behind him with a tarp and tried to shake it, and that mule took off in that round pin, and Rip went right, left, and froze that mule in the ground. After the third time, that mule hardly jumped. Don't think just because they have seen all these cows, don't mean one day they're going to see a cow that's not going to scare them. Flight because of fright. Now, at the Phoenix Zoo, folks, I trained horses and mules to be pulling wagons around the zoo. How many of you have got an elephant to desensitize? I had one. How many have a rhinoceros to desensitize? I had one. How many of you got, do you see what I'm saying? But it wasn't the desensitizing. It was the come along hitch. Because what happened was, what most horsemen do is say, let them go until their feet stop. I can't do that on the side of a mountain. I can't do that at the Grand Canyon. No, when I say stop, whoa, I won't stop. And I don't care if there's a rhinoceros standing in front of me or a giraffe. When I bump that come along hitch, that mule, that horse better learn to stand still, or guess what? His nose is going to be sore. His pole is going to be sore. Understand, folks, that these mules understand this. These horses understand this. Comfortable, uncomfortable. Yes, you are making them uncomfortable as soon as you walk in the corral, folks. You're a predator. They're a prey animal. Oh, I don't want to hurt Fluffy. You hurt him as soon as you walked in the corral. Maybe you're on the wrong halter, da-da-da-da-da. So let's go on. What would I do here? Okay, what would I do with this donkey? Is I would take and put the come along hitch on, and then I would teach that mule to respect that come along hitch, just like we did, with that mule where I was picking up the back foot. Okay. What else? You know, what do people usually do? They drug them. The shoers, they drug them. They give them drugs so they can work with their feet. And I have no problem with that necessarily. But I can tell you that when you give drugs to mules, it's a cocktail, and I've had them be worse. That's why I say, give me the natural way. Give me the come along hitch. And if some of you were there at my clinic, you see me use a twitch as well. So going back, what do? You build a foundation with the come along hitch, and then you start crossing water. Okay? You start crossing water. Here's the downside, folks. Mules and horses do not have depth perception. They don't know how deep that place is. When I would do my clinics, I had a 4x8 sheet of plywood. I painted it white, and I put a black circle around. That black circle was not deep. It was surface, but they didn't know that. So with the come along hitch, or with the riding ability of the rider, they would cross that thing. If they didn't have the come along hitch or the bridle and the rider, they couldn't cross it. You understand? So what is it? It's not desensitizing. What it is having the tools and the ability to be able to do it. I'll give you one more thing. Randy and I, we competed at the World Championships, okay? And we prepared, we rode good mules. We had good horses. You know, we had the best of equipment. We had the knowledge. What didn't we have? We had music, loud music. We had banners. What didn't we have? 10,000 people in the audience. So you see, folks, not desensitizing, proper tool, proper time, get the job done.
Awesome. We talked about using the come-along rope with the horse. What about using your saddle with the horse? Now, we know that the reason why we use the Steve Edwards saddle and not a mule saddle, and certainly not a horse saddle, is because the mules are shaped differently. But can we go reverse? Can we just throw the mule saddle on there and try and hit two birds, one stone?
No, it's completely different bone structure. When you see my saddle on a horse's back, which I think we've got that on a video that we have on mastering the horses. I think, don't we? I think we do. Anyway, because we did show some horses and this sort of thing. But no, you don't want to ride my saddle on a horse. You will create bridging, and you will have an unhappy horse. I had a cowboy trainer up in Utah call me and said, "Man, I've been using your saddle on my horses, and it's been working great." And just da 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 da. They called me up about 30 days later and said, "Hey, I'm retracting all I said to you. I'm in the hospital right now with a broken collarbone. Your saddle just irritates the horses." Yep.
There we go. That was actually a question from Jim. Said, "Hey, it works great for my mule. Will it work for my horse too?" So there you go, Jim. Thanks so much for sending that in. Next question here. Ross, if you're still watching, we got your question here. Ross says, "I have 3 green mules from the age of 7 to 3. Sent them to a trainer for 3 months of training. They came back supposedly being ridden for about 2 months, but I couldn't hardly do anything with them. So I have probably spent 50 or 60 hours doing your groundwork over the last year and getting ready to get in the saddle. I have your mule rider's martingale." And Steve, he sent this picture right here. So right there's Ross getting ready to ride. So thanks for sending that in. Any advice for Ross? Any thoughts for him? Because that's something that we hear so often. He was supposed to be trained, but we call that a butt mule. Any thoughts to share with him as he gets ready to get in that saddle?
Yeah, Ross, keep on doing like you're doing. The mule riders martingale shows groundwork. The come along hitch shows groundwork. Folks, it's not important to get in the saddle. It's not. It's important. Build a foundation on the ground. Then when you do climb in a saddle, they know what that bridle is. They know how to turn to the right and to the left before you get in there. Here's the problem, folks. Think about this. You're getting ready to ride a mule for the first time. You're just now introducing the bit. You're just now introducing the saddle. And now you're introducing a predator on top of his back. You're just introducing a rear cinch. You're introducing a breeching. You're introducing a breast collar. Yes, you put everything on the day you do your first rides. Yes, but wait a minute. They don't understand the bit. They don't understand how to get their nose on the vertical. They don't understand how to walk with their back rounded out. If you get all of this done, you won't pile all that information on them at one time. Get them to first do that Mule Rider's Martingale video and watch the video and get that done. Do you come along work? Hey, I'm looking forward to pictures of your first ride.
Awesome. We've got more folks tuning in. So folks, so glad to have you here hanging out with us a little bit this afternoon. We've actually got David Pengelly coming in, watching a little bit. And Mr. Pengelly is what Steve is drinking right there. We got Come Along Coffee. Now, this is the good stuff, my friends. This is the good stuff. I'm putting a link in the comment section right now so you can get yourself some coffee by David. This is the Ask, Tell, or Demand coffee. Come Along Coffee. Ask, Tell, or Demand. It is the coffee, the only coffee Steve drinks. It is the coffee that is served at Steve Edwards' Queen Valley Mule Ranch Clinics, and it is the coffee that's growing hair on my face. So, Come Along Coffee. Get yours. Good to have you here watching with us. Steve liked that all right. Steve thought that was a good one. Let's see here. Buck is watching. David's watching. Sandy is watching from Orongo. Let's see. Rex is watching from Jeff City. Just coming in from Feeding the Mules. Bonnie is watching. Getting back to mule I sold 3 years ago before I found Steve. She is 18 years old, only uses a Hackamore, and does well. Should I stay with the Hackamore or should I try to switch to a bit?
If she's doing well, yes. Okay, but here's my first question. Are you riding with 2 hands or 1? Are you riding off of your legs or are you riding off of your hands?
That's it. Let's find out. Because those hackamores, in the bit webinar we did last week, it's one of those deals where they're a fantastic tool. This is what Steve says. They're a fantastic tool. They're really amazing. But I really, really want to know how are you riding first, because that makes all the difference, because you don't want to be pulling on them. You don't want to be damaging them. And so let's hear from you there. Bonnie, let's hear from you. Sharon says, Steve Edwards, you're the best. How much did you pay Sharon to say that? Are you doing that again, Steve? You sending out $20 bills? You promising come along coffee to people if these ringers come in here?
That's the one. Yeah.
Central New York, it's raining there, but Sharon's watching us. It's good. Linda has a question. Do mules learn from? I love mule. If more people were like Linda and just curious, Linda, you are the ultimate curious, and I think curiosity is something that makes humans better. Just being curious, and I mean that in all sincerity. Linda's always got curious questions. Do mules learn from watching each other? Not talking about hitching a newbie up with a veteran mule. I mean, if they're watching you working with a chill mule in the next pen, do they learn that being worked is not scary? That's a great question. Steve, what do you know about that?
No, I don't think so. I can tell you that, they learn the natural things, flight and fright, for instance, spin and kick. That's all natural things. But no, I don't think they learn from other animals at all. I've never seen it, and I've ridden and worked with quite a few mules, and I don't think so.
Beth's got another question. She says, is the mule rider's martingale for stopping and turning? I'm conditioned by the horse world to think that a martingale is for elevation or head set only. Steve.
Well, most martingales are. You're exactly correct. But not the way I've designed mine. Is it for headset? Yes. Okay, understand, folks, that when a mule is balanced, top of the hip, top of the wither, top of the head, balanced, framed up, and the nose is on the vertical, they are listening to that bit. When your mule elevates his head, he hollows out his back, stiffens out his neck, and you're going to have a hard time. Okay, so yes, the martingale sets the head level, gets the nose on the vertical. It gives you easier ways to turn and stop, because if you don't have a good backup, you don't have a good stop. Now, my martingale, unlike the German martingale and others, there are places on a German martingale on the reins that have different rings, and you attach to different places for different headsets. I don't have that. Mine is a string coming from a strap between the legs, and you want the strap to come from between the legs. You don't want it to come off the breast collar, because the breast collar would move. It would move, and so it would give the mule a little bit more leeway, and I don't want him to have any leeway. When I pick up on that bridle, I want it pretty instant. So don't attach it to a breast collar. There is a ring there on my breast collars that you can pull it through and attach it to the cinch. But always attach it to the cinch, because it's snugger and it'll give you more crisper, cleaner communication. So let's go back. I use that martingale. Matter of fact, Randy and I was talking about it today. I use that martingale going through brush, up mountains, crossing rivers, everywhere. Yes, I use it all the time. And I build a foundation with it. It is soft, it is consistent, and it really works good. Now, if you notice in this video, you can see how the string is there, and when I communicate off of the string, not off the rein itself. So it's a very, very light touch. That's what I want to see. Here I am putting a surf single on, rigging one up. I think that's Rip's mule there. And we put it in the surf single for about 4 hours and turned it loose. And that mule you can see is getting his head down now and his nose on the vertical. And that's what you want to see. Head down, nose on the vertical. That mule, when he normally stands, he stands with his head up. His neck comes up out of his shoulders instead of down out of his shoulders. And the martingale balanced and framed him up. You can see in this video that we're riding off of the string, not the rein itself. so it makes it a nice light touch. Now this is the mule, folks. This is the mule that's seen cows every single day and got scared when 3 cows come up behind him. Yes, flight and fright, they will jump out. But there's the Sir Single. There's rigged up. That's what you should do with your mules. Your mules are in the corral, and they've been in the corral for that we're selling to Carol and Steve. These mules basically get used once or twice, maybe 3 times a year, from all kinds of friends of the owners. Right, we had a whole bunch of college girls come down and they piled them on these mules, and them girls had never ridden before. Anyway, long story short, what keeps them soft? That Sir Single with the Mule Rider's Martingale. Softens their face. You don't have to be a rider to sit on them. But folks, the key thing is to keep them soft and supple, and you do that in that Sir Single.
Great. Next question. This is all about welcoming Mr. Mule home. Chris sent in this email from Northern California. She inherited 9 mules and 2 horses about a month ago. That is a big inheritance. That's a big responsibility. That's how I became interested in mules. I'll say, I came across your YouTube videos and here we are. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I've learned so much already. I'm getting to know my mules on an individual basis, and it's amazing how smart and unique each one is. It's a little overwhelming dealing with so many of them with little equine experience. But I'm learning. I have bonded with 2 of the males so far. As soon as they see me, they approach me, and I can put the halters on them, check the feet, etc. I've not tried to saddle any of them. Some are not as tame and not easy to get close to. They definitely have a pecking order. The 2 I have bonded with are the dominant pair, Red and Blackie. Red is the leader for sure. Not sure of the ages, but Red seems to be older. Thanks again for all your info. Do you address skin care and issues in any of your videos? I have one female who has some patchy hair loss in her hindquarters and face. Any advice on finding homes for them? So Steve, what would you say here for, and we've got a few pictures. Here's all of her new babies. There's one right there. There's another one right there. And then there's the last one right there. So any advice just for Chris and where she finds herself right now?
Well, Chris just told me where them mules are, and Randy and I will load the trailer up and come get them mules.
There you go, Chris. You've got to take her. You've got to take her. Yeah, she's got all these new mules, and you just offload them to Steve. Steve and Randy will bring them down to the Adrana Ranch and make mules out of them, right?
Yeah, we'll either have mule soup or we'll have mules that go.
That's good. I'm sending it back to her right now. I'm telling her.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, the big mistake right there, y'all. Look, those mules are out in the pasture. They got the water. They got their feed. They got each other. They don't need you. So it's going to be an impossibility to do anything at all with them animals until you set up your training area, folks, is super important. You've got to have a training area. Like right now, we got 2 donkeys and 2 mules down there in full Sir Single, and they're learning how to give and take, and it's a wonderful thing.
There you go. Someone right there is calling you in. Steve, I seen you on the TV. You're on the TV, Steve. It's old hat now. Lynette sent a message in. She says, hey, Dave, I wanted to thank you for bringing my question to the live stream with Steve last Wednesday. I have another one for him this week. Lynette, if you're watching right now, here you go. When I approach my donkey, I have a hard time getting him to stand so that I can approach him from the neutral shoulder position. He gives me his rear and is impossible to move. I've watched the video session on how to approach your mule, and it looks like you step toward his hip to move him. That doesn't have much impact on my donkey. Can you guide me in other possibilities? Could this be the total goal of a training session? 3 times successful, and that's it for the day. Thanks, Lynette. Steve, what would you say?
Yes. Always 3, 6, 9, 12, Lynette. That's really, really important. Now, I got to tell you, folks, when it comes down to donkeys, you just about got to explain to them every single step, because otherwise they're going to say, now, okay, if you want me to go, you got to tell me why that hip has to go, you know? So that means you have to create some discomfort. You can do that by taking a quirk and tap them on the hip. You can do that by kicking a little dirt toward their hind feet. Do not hit them on the legs with a whip or a rope. Pop them in the point of the croup area. That's the area to make them go forward. If all if you're approaching the shoulder, approach the shoulder. If they start to move forward and give you the rear end, step to the nose, then go back to the shoulder. Now, if you have to, you may have to put your hand out and say, whoa, get them to stop in order to approach the shoulder.
Awesome. Let's keep trucking along here. We've got, hey, David Scholes watching from Australia, International. Hey. Rogers watching from New York. Hey, Brazil is watching from Enoch, Utah. We've got David watching from St. James. Bonnie is here, says, hands going to try my daughter on her. Oh, thanks. Going to try my daughter on her. She's 12, moving up from pony, not going to replace my mule. So I guess that's a follow-up from the mule from 3 years ago using the Hackamore. There we go. Okay, Linda says, boo. Mules are not as curious as Linda the mule servant. Dolores, you're watching on YouTube. Dolores, you're saying I missed your question. I am so sorry. I went back through and looked at everything from YouTube, and I don't see it. I'll keep looking, but if you've got it there, just copy it and paste it back in the comment section. It's not intentional. It's just sometimes what happens. So go ahead, put it back in there, and I'll keep my eyes peeled for it. Hey, Yolanda's here from the Netherlands. When do horse people understand that the mule is not a horse, but even better than any horse on this planet? Truer words have never been spoken. Myra is watching, says, I hear different opinions on allowing pressure on the soft parts of the mule's nose. Should the halter be closer to the nostrils rather than on the bony part above? So yes, Steve, on so many of your YouTube videos, you'll get folks starting to comment saying that's abuse, that's too far down on the nose, that's on cartilage. People should not be listening to this. That's something that we hear over and over and over again. Let's talk about that head on. What is the deal there, Steve?
The knots are not on cartilage. They are in the nostril where there's nothing. It's open. So those two knots set right over top an open hole. What does it do? What does it do? It shuts the wind off. What does it do? It communicates to the nerves. What does your curb chain do? Communicates to the nerves. What does your chain on your halter that you're doing? Destroys nerves on the nose, nerves underneath the chin. Yes, folks, do use chains at horse shows. Go watch them. You'll see folks using chains underneath the chin, over across the nose at horse shows during horse shows. You hear that? I mean, quarter horse shows, Arab horse shows, all of them. And they use chains. No. This rope halter is used correctly, more like a Bozalis, okay? So those two knots are in the nostril right here. They are not on cartilage. When you put horse halter on, what's it doing? Hitting bone. What you have to work really hard to get that to respond on a mule. Ain't gonna happen. Bring it over here close, put the two knots or two fingers above the nostril, and it's soft and easy. But now let's do your homework first. Come along hitch first. Do the come along hitch. It's like a Bozalis, like a Bozal, okay? From the come along hitch to the rope halter. That's what you do. You can go to also a finished rope halter that has a braided noseband. But no, listen, folks, this is soft and easy. The downside is all of you folks that are using smooth snaffle bits trying to be nice to your mule or trying to use a horse halter, all you're doing is teaching bad habits. That's what you're doing.
That is a comment that comes up a lot, and one of the things that I appreciate about you, Steve, every now and again, we don't do this so much anymore, but in the very beginning of this show, I would kind of screen the questions ahead of time just so we knew that we were talking about, and there would be some questions that would be like, oh, these are kind of difficult questions. He's like, oh, just bring it. Let's talk about it. And so not that we were not going to talk about it, but it was like, hey, do you want to answer this? Is this person just crazy or what? Like, we answer everything. We don't even look at the questions ahead of time. Now we just go into them because we talk about everything here. Nothing. When we say nothing is off limits, with these mules and donkeys, nothing's off limits. You need to know, and quite frankly, folks who look at these animals like dogs and pets and cats and whatever, that's how you get hurt. And so we want to make sure that when you step out there, you are in the best position possible to be the herd leader, to be getting results, gaining trust with that animal, and communicating in their language, not expecting them to communicate in yours. Ain't that right, Steve?
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, they use ask, tell, demand. That's what they use, and that's what I try to use. They use comfortable, uncomfortable. That's what I try to use. This morning, Randy and I was watching the donkey play with this one mule, and the donkey and mule were jumping up and playing with each other and biting each other. Biting. Now, folks, I don't think any of you can handle a mule or a donkey biting you, but they do it. I mean, it's no big deal to them, okay? Part of their fun. The main thing is, folks, is you want these animals to be comfortable. You want to treat them fairly. And everything that I've done here now over these past 40-some years, I want the very best for my mules and donkeys, the very best.
Yep. So let's work here to finish up. We've got a message from Mandy. Mandy sent this in over email. I recently acquired 2 mules that were bound for slaughter. They will only come within about 4 feet of any person. I know it will take a lot of time to earn their trust. I would like to know if you have any tips on how I can earn their trust.
Okay, folks, it's not a matter of earning trust. It's a matter of being the herd leader. Okay? They will trust you if they see your leadership. They will trust you when they see that you understand comfortable, uncomfortable. They will trust you when they see you doing ask, tell, demand. Those 5 things are the main things, the main ways that mules and donkeys and horses learn to communicate with one another. Okay? If you're going to train a couple animals, you're going to save them from the slaughter, then you've got to get ready for some work for the next 3 years. 6 months builds a foundation in halter work. 6 months builds a foundation in saddle work. 6 months builds a foundation in bidding. You hear that, folks? 6 months. So, you're using over a 3-year time frame. That's what builds a solid foundation. 6 months of training out of the year. That's what's important. So what would I say to you? Number 1, put each mule in a separate pen. Number 2, take each mule out on a daily basis. Put them in a round pen. Put them in a working pen. They don't have to be a round pen. It's just that round pens make it easier for you to do, okay? And watch your feeding program. Watch your water program. And make sure that they are healthy. And first of all, folks, it's important that you do your dental work. It's important that you do your hoof work. The training is small part if the animal's not healthy.
I'm putting a link in the comment section to Steve's video on creating a feed and nutrition program for your mule or your donkey. You're going to hear Steve talk about using pellets, Lake and Lite. Lake and Lite is not available across the United States, but what is available on Steve's website. If you do a search on Google, actually, just for mule and donkey feed and nutrition, there's an article that pops up there. I'll put a link in the comment section. It's called Mules Can't Stand Prosperity, and it has the ingredients of what you want to look for in a feed similar to Lake and Lite. So someplace there might be Star Milling available where you're at. So just take that ingredients list into a feed shop and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. What do you have that's closest? And the pellets are fantastic feed. And really make a huge difference. Let's see here. We've got Cinda watching, says late but listening now. Linda's making a comment. Patchy hair loss this time of year can be normal season shedding, aggravated by not having been wormed. Oh, she's talking about mules. Okay, Theo sheds out of funny if I am late with his worming. There you go. I thought she was making a comment here about the shedding that's going on right here. Julie says, I have a young mule. I need help with her. Is there anyone on the East Coast that could help me? She is pony size, but I need to help how to start her and what to do with her. Julie, I'm just going to say, give Steve a call. If there's one thing, and there's not just one thing, but if there is one thing that I've learned from Steve, it is that he firmly believes that really anybody can get out there and get results. And certainly there's, folks who have more experience and it might be a little bit quicker, a little bit more natural based upon, 40 years of working with the animal. But really we've seen just about everybody from all ages be able to get out there and experience results. So give Steve a call directly. Steve, you would talk with her, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. I love helping people out. Be happy to do it. No problem at all. I am not one for sending people to a trainer. I've got a few apprentices, and they're scattered throughout the United States, and they're so busy. They pretty much tell me, Steve, don't send anybody to us. I can tell you that Randy Figgins here, I've known Randy for a lot of years. He's been a great friend, and he loves mules. He has taken on a few mules and trained them here at the ranch, but it's also very difficult to train them and ranch too. So he's pretty much uses these mules that he's training on a daily basis out here, working cows, and gives them a job. There's nothing like the butt of a cow to put a mind on a mule.
Julie said, I also went to work with her. And when she gets scared, she starts cow kicking continually until she calms down. She's bringing that up. That's a pretty big problem. Anything you would say to that specifically as she goes out there and tries to gain that trust and get results?
Okay, number one thing, don't swat these mules when they kick at you. I've seen people do it on YouTube, and I'm appalled by it. You don't need to do that. Use the natural way, the come along hitch. When they're doing something incorrect, bump, bump, bump. When they're doing something incorrect in the saddle, right, left, always bump, 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 folks. So the mule cow kicks at you, bump, bump, bump. The problem is most trainers don't know how to fix a problem like that. They want to rough them up, throw them on the ground, and this sort of thing. We had that happen in Brazil when I was training I was watching the guy train a mule, and the mule started kicking at him, and these two cowboys went down and was going to throw him on the ground. And I said, you don't need to do that. You've seen the video of how that mule started kicking at me, thrashing me around, and you saw how the come along fixed it in a matter of minutes. There you are.
Awesome. Let's see here. Just wrapping up. Hey, Linda, thank you so much. Julie, Linda's cheering you on there. She says, I'll bet you can do it yourself if you've got Steve's help. We appreciate that. We love this community. Bill made the comment, the double twisted wire snaffle bit was the best advice I ever got from Steve Edwards. Folks, this is again another example of don't judge a book by its cover. Folks, look at the double twisted wire snaffle bit. They just look at it and they say, oh, well, that's going to be abusive. What's abusive? Cutting a mule's tongue? Is that abusive? That's what you're going to get with a smooth snaffle bit. You get that double twisted wire snaffle bit. It goes on either sides of the tongue, communicates to both sides, the fullness of the tongue. So you just look at it and make a judgment. That's not how you go about living life, and that's certainly not how you should go about training the mules and the donkeys. Thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate that. Get out there, educate yourselves, learn. That's why we're here. Melissa talking about the behavior of a mule said, I got bit by my mule hard when I first took him on. Turned my whole forearm purple and yellow. Hey, there is no safe place, but what we are here to do is to try to get you as prepared as possible to be safe in everything that you do. There is no safety, but we want you to go about doing what you do in as safe as way as possible. Linda says, no, Dave, regarding the beard. Honey, it's not all about you, but the beard looks good, so maybe it should be all about your shedding. Lydia is watching, says, will your ultralight saddle 15-inch seat fit a small 12.2 hands-high mule? Steve, will it fit?
I'm riding right now a 12.2 hand donkey. Dave, I don't know if I sent you the pictures of that donkey. He's a paint donkey, but he's 12.2, and yep, it's sitting on his back right now. My trees, folks, are only 19.5 inches long on the bars, and with that, I can fit pretty much everything I want to fit on. I can probably, if she will text me, Dave, I will text her a picture of that donkey. He's 12.2. As a matter of fact, he's got a new home in Colorado. A guy by the name of JD is coming down from Colorado and bought that little donkey, and he's going to be enjoying a nice ride. That's a great donkey.
Awesome. Steve, that's it for this week. I know we were going to talk about equitation. We'll save that for next week if that's all right. Let folks come back and hang out with us next week, and we'll talk a little bit about equitation. Steve's still down there at the Andrada Ranch for a couple more days. What's on the schedule for the remainder of the day? It's only 4:00 here in Arizona. The day's just getting started. Although
I gotta introduce you to one of my buddies.
Hey, let's see it.
He's not only a firefighter, okay, but he's a heck of a cowboy. I mean, we've been down there working these cattle and stuff. Now get this, and here's Jess too. This guy just got done working a 48-hour shift as a firefighter. He went home from the ranch last week, ate dinner with his family, got up the next morning, spent 48 hours as a firefighter, came directly from the fire station down here, and we've been working cows. He's a heck of a hand, boy. He's great. So, hey, Falker, you're a good man.
Hey, I appreciate it.
You betcha. You betcha.
Let's go to work.
Let's go to work. We got cows to do.
Awesome. Very good, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was good to see you this week. I hope you enjoyed this. I think this was a great episode. This is probably one of the best episodes we had. Great questions, great community, great folks. Go out there, make it a great rest of the day. We're only going to get Wednesday, March 24th, 2021 once. You got a few hours left to make it a great day. Take care. We'll see y'all next week. God bless.